when you talk about security awareness, I recall before this particular unfortunate incident, the DSS then had this security awareness in all motor parks, and we just could say, well, there was some kind of a relative kind of awareness or peace in all the motor parks in the country, because that particular awareness took place about 2-3 years ago, and we didn't get to see anything as such until yesterday. So the awareness for the individuals is very, very key now if we're talking about crowded places. What should we as individuals look out for to start with?
Okay, well, individuals need to look out for unusual activities. You can usually tell, like I said, when we're doing these security programs for staff of major corporations, we see how much people don't know about security and what's going on around them. You'll be amazed. What you said is going on at the parks, you know, it might have worked, but we have to continue doing that. So first of all, create awareness. Just look around you. See if you see anything unusual. Another problem is if you even report, because there might not be a 911 system where you call and say, hey, I think I see something suspicious going on here. Another problem we face in this country is even if you report that, the police might come there and start beating the person. The jungle justice takes over. Instead of maybe just looking at it and say, hey, okay, well, let's figure this out. So there's another problem there. But first of all, if you see someone with a backpack, you know, make sure, just try to look around you. Make sure that that backpack does not contain anything that might be, there's no way you can tell, but at least you can warn people around you and say, hey, this person left a backpack here. Whose is it? And that's another thing you could do. Just say, hey, why did someone leave this here? If someone is wearing a bulky shirt or maybe wearing a jacket when the sun is 90 degrees, you know that there's something is not right. You know, so these are some of the tips that people can look for when they are in crowded areas. There's usually something unusual with someone or some people in a crowd.
You know, part of looking at all of this in terms of what can work, because if you bring the best of plans, just as you talked about, and people sit on some of those things, they frustrate their entire plan, especially if they play politics with all of this. For instance, the CCTV in Abuja. We understand that they've been installed and they're supposed to be working, but the question is, are they working? Who's monitoring them? Do we have any leads on all of those? So shouldn't somebody be talking about those? Yeah,
well, you know, again, here in Nigeria, for what we've seen, it just feels like no one cares. People play politics with CCTV cameras. People want to make money. Yeah, I'm not opposed to making money, but what I'm opposed to is not doing the work at all. If you're going to give contract to people who know exactly what they're doing. We're not saying don't eat money. If you're given, just spend the right amount of money to buy the product and fix it and make sure you train the people that can monitor it. The CCTVs, even the traffic lights in Abuja are not really working.
Wow.
I mean, so that's the capital of Nigeria. So it's amazing how much, how deficient we are, you know, in terms of, you know, getting things done. So it's horrible.
Looking at all of this, I mean, yes, we have all those security agencies, but would it be out of place for them to also get the FCT authorities involved in all of this? Or because the nature of that motor park, and this is not the first time you see this kind of things in the motor park, and when it last happened, there was this action, they tried to speak with some of them, but now it looked as though people dropped their guard. Yes. And then this happens again. So
that's the point, dropping your guard. You see, the fight against terrorism, you don't drop your guard. You keep your guard up 24/7. And that's what we haven't taught fellow citizens about, not dropping your guard at all. In the U.S., if I'm picking up, when I was coming back here, I left my luggage. I wanted to use the restroom. Before I turned around, someone somewhere else already screamed, hey, pick up your luggage. Don't leave it there. I mean, that's the kind of awareness that we need to have. And the terrorist organizations, they already know how we operate. They know that we're very complacent when it comes to doing certain things. So they just wait for you to drop your guard.
Is it just about our security agencies, or that's also about us as a people?
Yes, it's also us as a people, the training. So we have to be retrained. And that's why I talk about the security awareness. What we can do now is let politics take care of itself. But for us, we need security awareness program. We need it to be continuous. We need it to be in front of everyone. And it needs to be very constant because people are not taking this seriously. They think it's only happening in the north. I'm telling you that it's coming down to the south. It's going to be, because already they are working with other, transnational organized criminal organizations. All the terrorists, that's the new trend, okay? The TOCs are all working together. You have TOCs are actually crimes that are committed across border. You have drug trafficking, weapons trafficking. You have oil piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, oil theft, vandalism, money laundering. All these are transnational organized crimes.
Now, you talked about the airport, and what comes to mind is also bus stations, and trying to compare our bus stations to what we see in other parts of the world. And you just realize that our bus stations are not well organized or not well built.
Yes.
So it becomes quite difficult for anyone to screen anyone coming in with any kind of luggage.
But that's what I'm saying.
Perhaps we should start thinking of making it look very much like, the closest, like our airports.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not going to say that they won't do that yet, but I think they should do it. The thing, again, is when you give people contracts, they usually give contracts to people who are not going to do it well. I'm not surprised. They could have given out contracts to fix those places, but you find out that, maybe the people given the contract, didn't do it at all. And because there are no checks and balances, or there doesn't seem to be any checks and balances in the system, things go on as usual. And so my advice to the federal government or to the president also, we know that he has a lot on his plate. Also, when you look at the unemployment rate in this country, you might think that you're killing Boko Haram, but you're not really putting a dent in Boko Haram. You're only killing unemployed youths that they recruit. So we need to look at how do we lessen the unemployment rate in our youths? So you look at the banks, and we now have a new. I hate to veer off on a tangent, but we have a new CBN governor that's coming in that I think is a pretty good guy, someone that I think that can change the way the banks look at lending to small SMEs, small and medium enterprises. Yeah, so because the small businesses are the engine of the nation.
So it's also tied to the security situation.
Well, yes, also tied to if we have less unemployment, there should be you could see the less crime. Boko Haram will not be able to recruit as much or as many unemployed youths.
That even reminds one of what was said by I think it's the former Chief of Army Staff, when he talks about funding.
Yes.
Funding terrorism. And we've got the Special Fraud Unit of the police, we have the Financial Crimes Commission, all of these agencies. Who's tracing the funding of terrorism, and are they speaking up? So many agencies who should be doing something, but they don't seem to be doing something.
And that's exactly my point. There's so many agencies out there, but what is it that they're doing? We don't see what they are doing. They have the agencies, but I think we need to look inward and begin to change and streamline some of these agencies that we have so that we can do these things effectively. The money laundering, we've passed the laws, but not all the money laundering laws have been passed. And the same thing with the PIB bill. It hasn't been passed. We play politics with things that are important to the citizens of Nigeria. But if we can get these things done, then the public would think that, okay, the leaders are actually doing something for us.
Even something as basic as those who sell these chemicals that are used in manufacturing some of this, because I know in some of the claims every little thing. They trace, they monitor. Are we
Yeah.
doing the same thing?
I don't, if we're doing the same thing, maybe we are, but it doesn't feel like we're doing the same thing. I'm always going to say that because I don't want to be absolute. We want to feel like they're doing something.
How would we know when they have, I mean, you say it doesn't feel like, how would we begin to feel it?
Like I said, benchmark. If for between now and maybe July, August, if there are no bombings or no killings
And you mean that as in throughout the country?
throughout the country, yeah, we can
Is
sense
that possible, considering the
It
fact
is-
that,
it is
that a
possible.
war is going on currently? I mean, parts
Yeah.
of Borno, especially in Borno State,
Yeah.
you have the armed
be-
forces there concentrated. Can we really say that
It's-
that will be a reasonable or a realistic benchmark?
Yes, well, it might not be that reasonable, but I think it is a benchmark that we need to look at. Now, what's going on in Borno, the emergency rule and all of that, the borders are wide open. So there's nothing you can do very much. You know, they keep trooping in from outside and keep coming in and going. So even if you kill a few today, tomorrow more will come in, and they wait for you to drop your guard, and then they walk in. So that is another thing we need to look at. Securing our borders is very critical, to checking terrorism. So what are we doing about that also? That's another question that we need to ask. So we keep asking questions, but we don't seem to have answers.